left-hand corner.
Yes, I see that. Great. Hello everyone. Welcome to Carnival of Poetry November session. So here we are with this new and I think 28th edition of Carnival of Poetry, and now this time we have changed, though we are still on the last Sunday of every month, like we are in the same schedule according to month, but we have changed our style of doing it. Typically, as you know, we have always done with poets who are coming to Singapore, living in Singapore, or passing by Singapore. And for the first time, we are going out of Singapore now, and we are organizing this with the poets from Hong Kong. So all of the poets who are going to read their poetry and who are going to be with us today are from Hong Kong. And that's the interesting part. We would like to see like how the literature scene is going on there and how people are writing. So thank you for being with us. And it is, as you know, organized by Migrant Writers of Singapore and supported by Single Station. So we'll start with a thank to them. And we'll go on through poets as you see in this poster, one by one, by the order of their alphabetical name. So thank you. So we'll start with our first poet in the sequence. So that is Elineme. So am I
Hello,
pronouncing it right? Elineme?
I Eileen May.
Elineme. Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Just tell me if I pronounce anything wrong. Yeah.
yeah.
So thank you, Elineme, for being here. And can you introduce yourself a bit and tell us a bit about your poetry?
Okay. Happy Sunday, everyone. I am Eileen May Ramos from Philippines, a mother of 15 years old young lady and 14 years old young man. I'm working as domestic helper here in Hong Kong since 2010, and I love feeling myself experience through writing since I was a child. Been writing things happening in my life, whether good or bad. I'm expressing my feeling through writing. Doing something bad that I will be sorry for the future, I choose to write down everything on a paper to release my pain, and it helps me feel better at the same time. And the poem I'm going to read to you this time is I write a poem that is mostly happens and experienced by the people around me, feeling some kind of being so isolated and self-pity from their life experiences. I would like to dedicate this to everyone who's undergoing with self-consciousness, self-depression, being criticized behind their back. And once I have experienced it in the past, and I decided to write everything on the paper, word by word. I always think about my belief nobody is perfect in this world. We are all created by our Creator equally. Love one another with humility. And here it goes. I
Thank
am
you.
not perfect. Okay, can I start now?
Sure. Sure.
Okay, thank you. I am not perfect. Written by yours truly, Eileen May. You may give me all your criticisms with your bitterness, hatred heart. You may humiliate me like rubbish dirt, but still like human. I rise. Does my simpleness upset you? Why are you so eager to hurt me back? Is it because I choose not to speak and just smile? And I choose to keep moving forward to what I love to do. Just like the birds and eagles with wings that freely fly. Just like fondness and appreciation being simple, I'll rise. Did you want to see me stumbling, turning around with broken wings? Head is bowing down like a bamboo tree and weakened by losing my self confidence. Does my happiness offend you? Don't you take it personally because I laugh so hard, like I always do, to furlough all my unhappiness. You may hurt me with your harsh words. You may stare me with your angry eyes. You may slay me with your bitterness pride like magic. I'll rise. Does my positivity upset you? Does it make you surprised that I'm simply moving on slowly as if nothing just happened? We'll go somewhere I can act freely. Stop the quest that pioneers the pain. I'm just a human, can feel some sorrow, continuously hurting, but still I'll rise. I am not perfect. I am authentic than anyone. Give up what I had in the past. It makes my life at peace. Into that darkness that continuously fading and still I'll rise. Bringing the love and faith that my trusted friends gave. I am a simple woman who's dreaming, hoping for a life with so peaceful that will bring joys and contentment to trust herself and to love humanity. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for such a nice poem, and thank you for sharing your poetry with us. And I think that's all of us right at this moment in some way or other. Like we want to share our mental states, our conditions, and that I think drives most of the poets, specifically this year. In general, obviously, yes, and most specifically this year, I think poetry is kind of the way to communicate the mental state of us.
Yeah,
And the analogies and some things were very nice. I'll maybe come to it later. Specifically, I liked the one that was very different. Like typically we don't use like you said, your head getting bowed like bamboo trees. So that's a something new I have seen, because typically in our language or different things, we use a very different metaphor for that. But I think that is quite inspired by your place or where you're from. That's how you say it.
yes.
Okay,
And I
okay,
just, mm, 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 mm.
okay, okay. Yeah. So you're saying something?
No, I just, I use that word. Head is bowing down like a bamboo tree, and because some people just, for my experience or others' experience as well, some people just like um, they will criticize me, always criticize me at the back, and they just want you, they just want me to get down.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
just
So
want
I
me
can
to,
understand. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just that the metaphor is very new and nice. Yeah, but that's very interesting. Thank you. Yeah, so
Thank you,
we'll now move to the next poet, and like we'll come back to anime after that
thank you.
in the second round.
Yeah.
So our next poet is Annalisa.
Hello, good
Hello.
afternoon.
Yeah, and good
Talbog
afternoon
ka
for
sa
you, right? It
Kalikanan.
is. So what is the time in Hong Kong now? So is it two?
It's the same time as
12:20.
it is
It's
in
12:20
Singapore.
p.m. here in
Ah,
Hong Kong, the
okay,
same
okay.
as Philippine time.
Okay, 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 okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, just I am in a very different time zone. It is 5 at my time. So I just wanted to ask what is the time zone. Yeah. Okay. So would you like to introduce yourself to us and read your poem?
Yes. My name is Annalisa V. Aquino. I use also known as Anna09, and I'm working for 9 years here in Hong Kong, and my contract will end on January 2021. I am from Lawag, Pangasinan, Philippines, and I am a senior poet in Horizons, the home for talented migrant workers here in Hong Kong and around the world, founded by our president, Melody Nadal, also known as Odi Monson. I started to write poems when I was 5 years old and began writing in 2015. And I am writing to inspire others, with my own true to life stories, especially those I want to motivate those who are feeling alone and weary.
Thank you.
My
That's
first,
nice of you. Yeah. So,
yeah,
yeah, please carry on.
my first poem, I wrote this poem because I wanted to express my significance in this world to everyone who can read and hear this. I want to let them know that I never regret living in this world because I believe that I'm living with a good purpose. To awake their minds and to make them realize of their own purpose of existence in this beautiful world. So my first poem is entitled My Purpose in Life. Being a mother to ensure my children's good future, help them survive life's struggle, teach them good values, and stay away from trouble. Being a wife to fulfill matrimonial sacredly, to have a smooth life, to be a light in our home and protect my family from doom. Being a daughter to respect my endeavor. My parents' legacy will be passed on to be the greatest lesson. Being a friend to teach them loyalty till the end. Good memories to ponder, enjoy everybody's wonder. Being a person, a unique creation. Discipline and dedication, a promise of human unification. Being a writer poet, write something to inspire others. Serves an example to heal this nation. Today, my voice is being heard in this platform. Sending my thank you, Carnival of Poetry, and to my horizons. Whatever purpose we have to deliver, act now and be a model. Always consider humility and great devotion, keys to succeed to all your affirmation. Ask from the Lord Almighty your guidance and protection. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, so we can see others like clapping from other sides because all of you are there together, and yeah, it's very nice to listen to this poem. And so, and specifically as we were saying, like we are special creations, and like as we were saying, we you are writing because you want to make each of us feel special in this time. So that's nice of you, and thank you for writing that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll go for further question and answer in the next round. So we'll move to the next poet now. So our next poet is Cherry Rose, or as you call her, Tata. So Tata. Yeah.
Hello.
So would
Hi,
you
everyone.
would you like to introduce yourself and like go on with your poem?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Cherry, but my Horizons family call me Tata. Um, I'm a mom and a mother of three kids. I'm working in Hong Kong for 3 years now, and I'm a newbie in poetry, just starting to write just last April, a few months from now. But with the help of our mother, Audie Monson, and my brothers and sisters in Horizon, I'm starting to learn little bit by little. So my first poem, uh, the title is Divineer. As I look around, trying to figure out how to solve the puzzle inside my mind, but none I could find. I searched and Googled hoping for the right solution, but for my dismay, I saw on my screen error can be seen. So I decided to go to the library. I must go. Lots of books, I know, but none is the key to solve this mystery. So I asked a friend, neither she can said, what shall I do? No advice can glue. Fallen pieces of me, shall I let it go? This tiresome world, word by word, keep popping like a bomb. I let my pen shoot it down, tease the pain, and no more frown. I lose heart, I shall not. It takes time and endless load like forever, but these remains, and you will be amazed. Now I'm becoming, letting all those old pieces fallen, and to Him I surrender all my worries and problems. Now I finally found the true meaning, embracing yourself next to God, above all anything. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a like nice poem, and I think like quite
Thank you.
empowering one by heart. So thank you for writing it. Yeah. So yeah, the so what was the name of the poem? I think you just
It's a French word, devenir. It means to say becoming or to become who you wants to be.
Mhm. Okay, well, that's nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. So it actually reminds me the last line. I think what you said was like embracing yourself next to
Self
God.
next to God.
Yeah. So
Yes.
this reminds me again from another like French writer, one of
Oh,
famous things, famous quote. I think men trying to be gods. So like so we always crave to be our own gods. Like that was a different philosophy, but yeah, it just reminded me of that. And that also was very empowering for lots of people because you can be the own controller of your life, your
yes, yes.
existence.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
writing that
you.
and sharing
Thank
with
you so
us.
much.
Thank you. So now we'll move to our next poet. Like our next poet is Esther. So she is not around. I'll ask like Odi, Melody. Like, would you like to introduce Esther a bit, and then I can play obviously her poem, her reading.
Yeah, Esther is a writer at Horizons, and Esther was was a dedicated writer. When she was in high school, she is a writer in the Torch magazine. She really loves writing. And then I saw her in our page of lifters, and I saw when she's writing that she is very, very good. And I encourage her to write poetry. Then when she starts to write, she is unstoppable. She is the PRO in the house. And every day she is trying different forms of poetry. And she is afraid to face camera. So through poetry, can you imagine her fears and camera disappear? Esther loves to sing. We call her in Horizons the singing poet. She is a very good soprano. Any song she can sing, but she is afraid to face the camera. So I told her, I challenge her in Horizons every Sunday right now. We got a challenge in reciting poetry. So that's what made her remove her fears of camera, because I have this thing that since I'm the mother of poetry here, I'm telling them a poet is two things. You should know how to write your poem. It's not complete if you didn't know how to recite your poem. Give life to your poem. And then, until then, she became a very good orator. She recites, and she really loves poetry, trying to express herself because she is alone where she is right now. And the COVID effect. So she's having fun talking to us, writing, and it's so fulfilling on pandemic when you can write something and achieve something. So let's hear Esther's poem.
Yeah, thank you. And I think like yeah, that's why for me also personally and like for I think I have talked with a lot of people specifically during pandemic we have found out once more the power of poetry, the healing power of poetry and literature in a very different manner. And yeah, thanks for sharing that. So I'll share the video of Esther now. I'm going to mute Melody for now. And okay, let me show the video.
Hello everyone! Welcome to Carnival of Poetry! It's my first time and thank you so much for this opportunity. My poem is entitled A Thing of Beauty by yours truly, Esther Vargas Castillo, also known as Maria Wordworm. Senior Poet of Horizons Hong Kong! A beautiful flower grows from a sprouting bud. A pretty butterfly starts from being a fat caterpillar. A graceful swan begins as an ugly duckling. A beauty queen starts from a careless cut. There's nothing in this world that starts big in an instant. Even a light starts from a dot. The world we live in starts from a word that God utters. Let there be, and everything was created. All it takes is a big step to start. Couple it with giant faith, but most important thing is look up to someone who is worth following. Be humble and be willing to be molded. Be like a clay in a potter's hand, allowed to be broken in pieces so as to be softened and molded back again, heated and be transformed from useless piece of junk to a thing of beauty. Hello everyone!
Oh, so yeah, so we have heard Esther now, and Odi, like, can you, on behalf of Esther, like share the motivation behind the poem, and like, can you try to explain like what she wants to convey with the poem? You are in mute.
Okay, this is what she wants to say about the poem. Honed like a butterfly is because before she really sparked her plume. She's not writing for how many years? She's 49 years old. Then, as I said, we're both, she's a trainee and uplifters, and I met her. And I saw when she's writing and posting something, I said, I can smell this girl is a writer, this girl is a poet. So, that poem, I am telling her, you need to dig more. You need to write. You're a very good writer, but go within yourself and dig into it. And then she writes in the inbox. She wrote it in inbox to me, not a paper. Then she learned that her bank of words came back to her. So can you imagine that? And then she wrote it, sent it to me, and I was so surprised because that's only 3 minutes. And I said, I told you, sink in within yourself, go from deep within of your core. You're a writer, it's in your veins. So she was so happy after she wrote that. That is the second one. Because the first poem that she sent me was Tagalog. It's called Luha. And I told her, Esther, you can do better. Why don't you write in English? And she said, I don't trust my English. And I said, no, you're a writer. You can do it. So see, after that, she sent it to me, and I said, you're a beautiful butterfly. So that's what's behind. I'm not going to brag anything about myself because when she sent me the explanation, it is like I motivated her a lot, but that is my job as their mother in poetry. So this is a woman being motivated to find her piece, her own space in writing. And that's the meaning of that poem. It's really from her heart. Did you see when she recited it? She's so happy. She's so joyous because it's the success. It's the happiness, the feeling that I am not just a writer, I am also a
Yeah,
poet.
yeah,
And
yeah.
she's not afraid of camera anymore. So I'm so happy that she
That's great.
shared it here. And this is her first international online platform appearance. Her
That's
very
great.
first.
It's our honor to like have her here. So that's great. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, so I think like poetry happens to us actually at weird times, at at different times in life, and it I would say always like it happens to us. It comes to us. So yeah, you just try it. You think like maybe you are not good enough. You don't have words today. You are having a block or etc. But then suddenly you find it back. It comes to you back. So that's great that Esther found the way. So yeah, thank you for sharing. We'll go now to the next poet, Felix. Hi, Felix.
Yeah, hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, great. Hi everyone. I'm Felix. I'm currently a student studying in Hong Kong, and I started writing poetry last year. And it's actually really wonderful to hear that, like even in like our very diverse migrant worker community in Hong Kong, there's so many people writing poetry. I think it's a very meaningful thing, and I'm very happy that the city has people from all walks of life writing about their experiences. Okay, so my poetry is
So
mainly
one question before that, which university are you studying?
hmm? Which sorry?
Which university are you studying now?
I'm studying at the University of Hong Kong in year three. I'm
Okay.
doing a degree in English. Yeah. So
Okay.
most of my poetry is based around one thing, which is Hong Kong, and mainly
Mm-hmm.
about its um it what I write about is mainly about its politics. So sorry for like putting a little bit of a damper here.
No, no.
All this love and then
Till it
I
is
talk
like
about
in
politics.
poetry, everything is fine because I write a political poem from like I think when I was also a university student, and that is very natural. Like you talk about things that you want to talk about, and that's why you have your pen. So yeah, just
Yeah.
feel free.
I think like poetry like some guy who died a long time ago said something like poetry is like um you writing about something you care about, what hurts you, what affects you, and it just turns out that that the politics of the city is what affects me. Okay, so this is my first poem. It's called Back to School. Your bus passes that Chunwan Street. Your swimboard touched the ground. In the halls, they spoke of you in tones of cotton wool, as broken things should be. Your empty desk, a shrine untouched, frozen in its fame, the slogans carved on flaking wood, coated with your blood. Maths textbook, page 18, geometry, figure 9a, point A and point B, 3 cm away. In biology, a sheepish glance as Joneser shows the PowerPoint. Human respiration, the importance of the lungs. You stay in class, you want to live the 10 years that you lose. In history, Miss Lee presents a questions asked of soldiers old. Would they do it all again? You raise your hand and state for once and answer that you know. Okay, so a bit of background information. Like back in 2019 when the city was on fire, yeah. Um, During the protests in Chinwan, which is where I spent a year of my childhood in, and a place really close to my heart. A secondary student, 3 years younger, 2 years younger than me, got shot in the chest, and this poem is about him.
Now I can see where the metaphors are coming from, and like yeah, I can understand. Yeah. So yeah. So that thing was interesting. Like, why have you used this? Idea of how can I say subjects and idea of this. This 3 centimeter away. So can you say like from where actually these exact analogies are coming from? Exact metaphors.
The exact metaphors. The focus is on the student going back to school because he's still a secondary school student. He's in Form 6, the year where he's going to take his university exams. And he has to deal with the polarities of facing all this chaos as a frontline protester, which is not, the marching shouting slogans type we're used to, maybe. Um, and he has to deal with the potential legal and psychological impacts of what he did and what he chose to do, and yet he doesn't regret it. So it's kind of like a juxtaposition, placing the person who's supposed to be nurtured, protected as a young member, a new contributing member of society, against the person that society has made him become or forced him to reach out to become. That's a pretty
Okay.
good image, in a way.
Okay. Yeah. No, no, no. I can see what are the points you are making. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I think like again, these events are like very personal, very emotional, and as you said, like you talk about what you care about. So yeah, thank you for sharing
Thank
that.
you.
So now we'll move to our next poet. So our next poet is Rachel. That's the pronunciation, if I'm doing it right.
Hi. Hi. Yeah, I'm Rachel.
Rachel. Okay. So yeah, would you like to introduce yourself and like share your poetry with us?
Sure. So I'm a university student. I'm a poet. Uh, like I also write other things and I edit stuff. Uh, I kind of started writing when I was in secondary school, but I really started, focusing on poetry and started submitting to journals when I was in my gap year. So yeah, I write about a lot of different things, but the two poems that I'm going to read today are specifically about Hong Kong. Yeah, so should I read my poem now?
Yes, yes, feel free. And like, yeah, so I can see Hong Kong will be, and I expect it will be a theme that will be coming back because we have you people from there. Yeah, please carry on.
Okay, so my first poem is Sweet Like a Bow, and it's a pastiche of Michael Ondaatje's poem, Sweet Like a Crow. It is quite it uses a lot of imagery from like the city, from local features, so things like that. So I'm pretty sure all of us will be able to relate to it, having been living in Hong Kong. And it also draws on this idea of the tonality of the Cantonese language. So yeah, Sweet Like a Bow. Your voice sounds like the red of a lampshade at the wet market, like the flopping of fish on the chopping block, like swearing taxi drivers, like a leaky AC unit, like the innards of a too hot dim sum, like a stray cat meowing, a chow man being chowed, a truck mixing concrete, a Canton opera at the Central Pier, like an octopus cart beat, like a plethora of neon light boxes, like pergolas in the park, a chestnut shell, an MTR crowd when the doors are closing, like the speed meter on a red minibus, like Tassil Bao, an old style cash register, like a million Mark 6 balls being scrambled, like someone trying to subdivide a flat. The opening jingle of a TV documentary 3 doors down, a really uninteresting PSA on Radio 1, the sound of a waiter when someone is slow to order, like durians being opened on a rock, like a whole housing estate airing out their dirty laundry on a Monday, like an enthusiastic beginner shuffling the mahjong tiles, like ta tan tang, like 7 oranges rolling down the slope, like 5 pickpockets pickpocketing, like the sound I heard when having an afternoon sleep and someone tried to tune the piano. Thank you.
That's, I think that is very nice. Like it reminded me of my time in Hong Kong. Like just everything about the city, very local imageries, and yeah, everything that you see if you walk through Hong Kong for 5 minutes. I'll say. Yeah, that's very nice. And so you said like so if I remember correctly, it is inspired from some poem, like because you mentioned that somewhere.
Yeah, it's by this North American, I think it's Canadian Sri Lankan poet. And he wrote basically a poem called Sweet Like a Crow. And it was, I was taught this when I was in secondary school, and it really, had a deep impression on me. And yeah, I wrote a pastiche based on his poem because his poem was basically you know, his poem was written because some journalists, some North American journalists, attacked his language, attacked Sinhalese, and was like, it's the most unmusical, the most, it's the worst language. It sounds so unmusical. And then he wrote his poem in defense of Sinhalese. So I decided to write a poem drawing on Hong Kong imagery, kind of not in defense of Cantonese, but rather celebrating Cantonese.
I see, I see. Yeah, that's very interesting. Like all these histories and all these stories behind poetry, I think makes it very special. And like also, as you can interpret as a reader, as a writer, in very different way. Like every poem becomes a new poem when there's a new reader, right? So, yeah, thank you, and thank you for giving us a tour, at least myself, a tour to Hong Kong. Like after 5 or 6 years, I have been there. So like that's very nice. Thank you. So now we'll move to our next poet. So our next poet is Lizzle. So yeah, I'll ask Lizzle to now take the stage. Yeah, just unmute yourself. Yeah,
Hello.
hello. Yeah,
Hello, I'm
so
Liesel.
can you introduce yourself?
Okay. Hello, I'm Liesel Marcos from Isabela, Philippines, working here in Hong Kong since 2014 and 5 years, already 6 years. I finished one contract to my previous employer and currently working with different family taking care of twins. I took 1 year to adjust here because it's my first time to work away with my family, especially my kids. And my experience in my first employer molded me to be strong. And I find comfort in the charts where I feel I'm belong. This year, my love in writing and sketching came back with the help of my Nai Audie Monson, who motivate me to write and share my writing in Horizon. And through writing, I express my emotions. My first
Thank you
poem,
for sharing that.
thank
Please
you.
carry on.
My first poem is entitled Home because of homesickness and I can't go back to Philippines. So I come up with this poem. This is also dedicated to the community I involve, the uplifters, Horizon, and daily life. Home. Home is where I feel secured. Home is where I feel respected. Home is where I feel loved. Everyone deserves a home. Everyone have different meanings of home. Home means a lot to me, not one, but many. Home is a triple place that I can be me. I can laugh, nor cry. I can happy, nor silly. Act normally and a little bit crazy. Accept the real me and not to control me. Mold me and help me to be the best version of me. Home is where my heart is. Home is where my memories are. Home is where my hopes and dreams, a place where I belong, my home. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And like I think the inspiration that you have said that this year has been, specifically this longing for home that has
Yes.
grown up on us. Yeah, like to be honest, like I am also stuck in Europe like for
Yes, because of
last
this
9-10 months.
pandemic.
Yeah, so I can understand. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
hard to go back home and you really want to go back home, but yeah, you have other things to do. You have to be in the work, and yeah, it's hard. But yeah, so actually, but if that has started so many people writing in Horizons in Uplift, that's a good thing. I can see like at least there's something that has happened good in some corner of the world, and like yeah, you people have started writing, expressing yourself. I think that's a very positive side. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, and I hope like your time in Hong Kong will be very great because you have people who have lived here for 9 years, 10 years, or longer. So I hope like yeah, it will be a smooth and you will find your community, you will find your roots in here.
Thank you so much.
So yeah. Maria, can you unmute yourself?
Yes. Okay. Can
Yeah,
you hear me?
fine.
Am I loud and
Yeah,
clear?
yes, great.
Okay. Thank you. I am Maria Nemilu Rocio. I am 39 years old from the Philippines, and I've been working in Hong Kong for around 3 years now. I have three kids, and I've started my writing journey when I was in high school. Actually, I wrote poems. I wrote poems back then, but then hello. I'm more specifically on writing editorials and feature articles for our school newspaper. And eventually, I also started writing poems. And then when I came back to Hong Kong, I joined Horizons, which is founded by Miss Odi Munzon. And then I started sharing my poems once again and short stories. And I also started sharing my poems in daily life of COVID-19. And I'm also from Uplifters, and I'm also a member of Lensational Hong Kong, which is a group of amateur photographers here in Hong Kong.
So you also do photography and okay,
Yes.
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, if I would have known, like I would have asked you to share some of your photographs, like if possible.
Okay.
But thank you.
Okay. I will be. My first poem is. I made this around October. This is supposed to be for my recital for the Carnival of Poetry on October, but I was rescheduled, so I would have to recite it now. It would be about the breast cancer awareness month, since October was the pink month, the cancer awareness month. Okay, so the title is Here My Breasts from Maria Nemilu Rocio. I don't know if it seemed right to stand before you today and recite about this disease who brought women to their knees. I am not a survivor, and neither am I a warrior in this battle against breast cancer. I never felt their pain and know nothing of their sorrow. But I stand before you today as a woman who fears of losing a part of me that I never failed noticing. So if you may please hear my noir, every day when I face the mirror, my eyes lands on my chest before I even get to look at my face. I held them both and gazed, and I couldn't help but praise. Boobs or hunkers or headlights, may it be called by others, but for me, it will simply be my breasts. As I look at my reflection, I will raise one arm, place it at the back of my head. My free hands start to move in circling motion, brushing away a deadly notion, running its stretch marks in beautiful colors of pink and green till I reach the pink and pinch my nipples, checking for lumps or secretion. It has become a routine, and I always screamed. Yes, I fear for myself and for other women. It could be me or a relative or a friend, and worst, my children. You see, me and my breasts have stories to tell. It wakes up my senses. They ring like morning bells in the chorus of pleasure. They were on my unsung heroes when motherhood knocked on my doors. They were flowing with milk like honey, like swollen beehives exploding with honey for my sons and daughters. A blessing I'm always thankful for. My breast, it has always been a part of me, and I cannot afford to see or think or feel that I may lose them from this big sea. Along it goes away with my hair, my confidence slowly fading into the air, but most of all, my completeness of my femininity. That if I would lose one or two, I wonder if I would still belong in the society where sometimes the size of your breast matters more than the size of your brain. So I put my arms across my chest, wishing this gesture is enough against this disease who will zip off all my zest for the women, for those battling, and for those surviving, and even for those like me fearing. My heart will keep praying that God forbids and save us all from this sickness. And for the society, hear our plea. I am a woman. We are women. Look beyond our chests, and there you will find our hearts. We are complete with or without breasts. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. That's like really like really a very nice poem and with a very nice message. Like thank you
Thank
for
you so
sharing
much.
that. And yeah, so this is like something like all that you have talked. Like after that I don't have many questions to do. You have said whatever you had to say completely. And
Thank you
yeah,
so much.
yeah, but this is very interesting, like all these perspectives that you have put it in there, like how society judges us, like male female with different standards of like their body, and how that gives us something they call it the gaze, that how you look at you is actually how people look at you. And
Yes.
uh, yeah, so all these things, they're very like, yeah, very interesting, very much part of our lives. And before, I think for me personally, we grew up, we read all this poetry, people talking about that. Yeah, we never understood how much it is part of our life, how much we have understood ourselves just through others' eyes, not our eyes, and our fears, they are also from others' eyes.
Yes.
And yeah,
Exactly.
so that's a very interesting way of putting it. But anyway, like it's a disease and we should treat it just like that. And I hope like, yeah, people get as less affected by this as possible. Everyone, we can get better medicines, better ways of healing them. Thank you for sharing that. And
Thank
that's
you.
very
Thank you.
nice. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Maria, for sharing that. And as I said, like I don't have much question and answer except that just saying yes to most of the things. So we'll go now to our next poet. So our next poet is Odi Munson, or Melody, as we know her. So, hi, Melody. Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear
So
me?
can you start, yeah, by introducing yourself and like, yeah, going on with your poem?
Well, I am Melody Nadal, also known as Odi Monson. I'm the founder of Horizons. There's the plug. There's the team. Everybody's here.
You got muted.
Okay, can you hear me? And I'm here in Hong Kong for 13 years. I'm the founder of Horizons, home for the talented migrant workers in Hong Kong and around the world. This is the first platform in Hong Kong that serves the outlet of emotions, especially during this hard times pandemic. Horizon's goal is also to preserve Philippine literary culture. I'm working in Hong Kong for 13 years, happily married to an American husband with 2 kids. I'm very active in Filipino communities such as Uplifters. I'm a team leader and social media correspondent in there. I also got another platform called Pangyao, which in that is a Cantonese word for friend. And I'm also a moderator in there, and I'm also in a social justice for migrant workers, where our intention is to help migrant community. We are giving food, clothes to the distressed OFW, and to those quarantined, we're giving them away food. So I am also an active member of One Step Closer. I'm also an organizer in there. And most of all, I'm an active member of Daily Life in COVID-19, where you are going to see my written pieces because I wrote there first. That is my first literary home. Then I founded Horizon because there's no literary home in there. So that's why I got it here. I am helping the migrant workers like me, as you're seeing in there. I gave them a home, not just a poetry page. We had a home. We're trying to uplift each other, motivate each other, and we are writing different kinds of poetry so that we have an achievement during the pandemic. Because I can see, if I'm doing my charity works and giving people away food, they also need help about mental emotions, an outlet. So instead of thinking that it's so sad, it's pandemic, I want to die, I told them, here, write what you feel. They are junior poet. When they are new, just write whatever you feel. It doesn't need to be perfect. Then when they become advanced junior poet, I become a bit strict, trying to correct them. Then when they become senior poet, there they are now performing. So that is me. And writing is really my first love. I was writing since I was 6 years old in the banana leaf, and I am also reciting since I was 4 years old because I love to talk. So my mom they birthed me into poetry so that me talking got a very nice purpose.
Thank you for that, and thank you for all this like endeavors that you are doing. That's very nice to know. Yeah, so like from Singapore perspective, like we are doing it from I think 2015 or something, but it is very nice to see things like that are also going in Hong Kong and people are getting more and more involved in that. Thank you. Yeah, please read it.
Okay, so my first poem. Let me do the slam poetry. I just finished my workshop today with a very good Stephanie, the slam poetry champion. So this is a bit different the way my children recite their poem, and I want to commend my children for being here together. They are Most of them are first timers, and they deliver it well. I'm so proud of them. And hooray, Horizons in Hong Kong. So I was really, really aware of pandemic as Horizons was founded April 18, 2020, when pandemic really hits us. So my poem describes since the pandemic starts till the pandemic is over. So listen to my slam poetry. When pandemic is over, have you ever dreamed right now that pandemic is over? Wishing that you could do things that you love to do over and over again. That way, you will value everything that will come your way. You won't waste food, and you will sip every last water in your cup and eat every last piece of rice in your plate, not letting any food to stale and go to waste. What about the diet? Ladies and gents, will you still care if you're on diet or not? Am I having a protruded stomach? Hey, sire, are you 9 months pregnant? Seriously, as long as there is an available food and my tummy is full, and there is no famine, gentlemen or feminine, let's not be choosy during pandemic. Food is necessity. During pandemic outbreak, it's the battle of the mask who's you argument. Clothes, garment, fabric, surgical, A95, name it. Same thing used to cover your nose. Does it fit you? Which one do you prefer? Mask outdated, the makeup trend. Most of all, perfect. So the person whom you own money didn't notice you identity. Even if you bump each other elbow to elbow, hey buddy. I love you, mother, father, brothers, and sisters. Love, love, live, love. I'm shining. I'm shivering to the bones. Feel like there's butterfly in my tummy. As you will not control yourself to show your love. As when the pandemic, you can't even go out as a group. The distancing's never ending. As now, touching each other hands means everything. Alcohol or hand gel is the greatest barrier, or else your existence will end now and forever. Sneeze, and crowd will disperse, looking at you like you are the carrier of the disease. Or something if only they put you inside the sack and made you disappear on earth and didn't even want to touch your thing. If they did, they're going to wiggle like a worm or pupa, going to shower with alcohol, and if a full enough, to inject with bleach. Toilet papers was scarce. As is the first one to finish in the shelves, I'm wondering, what's the flavor? Is it edible? Those people are so fighting over a bundle of toilet paper, not afraid to die of hunger, but so afraid without a toilet paper. Taboo or deja vu? In Philippines, we only use taboo. When pandemic is over, answer me. Will you be stuck out of the extraordinary? Me, I'll enjoy my life. Lesson learned, learn to comprehend. Thank you.
Thank you, Odi, for sharing your poem. And yeah, thanks for that. And I think that's all the lessons we needed to learn from the pandemic, but I don't think we have learned enough of them. And I don't think it is, yeah, ever enough to learn enough lessons for us. Yeah, because till now I also see all the supermarkets, even in here, getting emptied like far before. You don't get half of the things if you're late. So yeah, I think, and people hoarding their stuff. Yeah, and also people doing the thing just they want to do. But yeah, it's very interesting, and I think like this will be a nice message to everyone. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and we'll come back to you to know a bit more about Horizons in the next round, but we'll move to the next poet now. Thank you for reading your poem. Yeah, so next poet after us, after Odi, is Sonia.
Hi,
Hi, Sonia.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yes.
so would you like to introduce yourself and yeah, carry on?
Yeah. So, I started writing only about 6 years ago when I joined CTU MFA creative writing program, and I'm more of a nonfiction writer, creative nonfiction (CNF), and published essays in literary journals. So poetry, it's it's new to me. It's like you say, it just comes to you, and so. But I like ancient Chinese poems, especially the lyric poems from Song Dynasty, Songqi. So I start to mimic them and writing in write the lyric poems in Chinese, and then translate them into English, and then got further, and then started to write in English and translate them into Chinese. Um, and luckily, it kind of grew into this book. My first poetry, bilingual poetry collection, and so and the book, the book was published in Taiwan, where I am now, and in this year in May, And together with the book also comes with a CD, where my best friend in Taiwan, she composed tunes for my lyric poems. So we have 10 songs in the CD, where we recorded in Taipei studio, and together with the book as one set. The two poems that I will read today, both
And
came.
before that, one thing like, can you share the name of the book, because that would be
Yes,
nice for.
yeah, because it's one of the poems named the title poem, so I kind of delayed saying, but thank you. It's called "Don't Cry, Phoenix." 火鸟不哭, yeah, 火鸟不哭, yeah. So yeah, so that poems would it would be one of the poems that I read that I will read today. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
like Phoenix, Felix and Rachel, this is also a book, a poem about Hong Kong, and also 1/5 of this book is devoted to Hong Kong. Yeah, you will see. Sing for solidarity. How many powerful words can one pen write? How many pens does it take to defend our fragile freedom? How loud can one person sing? How many singing people does it take to awaken a regime? The answer is burning in the spicy wind. One pair of hands can crush how many dreams? One open mouth can hurt how many hearts? How many crowns can one head wear? How joyous can one caged bird be? The answer is burning in the spicy wind. Why are our people forced to disappear? Why is it so hard to settle here? Why do nightmares always lurk by my ears? Why should we sacrifice our freedom to solidify others' power? The answer is burning in the spicy wind. That vast land, is it the earth of our return? This special region, is it our home still? When will our voice be heard? When will our city be healed? The answer is burning in the spicy wind. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing the poem. And like, yeah, so this analogy of spicy wind is something very interesting, I think. So why have you used that? Can you like get us through that?
The pepper
Like
spray.
what was in your mind? Yeah.
Yeah, the pepper spray that the
Ah,
police
I see,
use.
I see, I see. I see. Okay, okay. Yeah, so I always get like very interested about how people, how poets find out their analogies, and I have found out interesting, like always there's a story behind that, and that's why, yeah, you have seen that I like to ask about them, because you know more about the context and
Yeah.
stories behind them. Yeah. So thank you for sharing. And one more thing is, like, as you have said, like, as we have seen in your bio, like you took birth in PCR, then you came to Hong Kong, and then you went to Taiwan. So all this migration of like moving in, moving out. So how do you feel about that, or how do you think your poetry or writing is affected by that?
I think that's why I came to writing 6 years ago when I was 40, because my parents also migrant workers from mainland China to Hong Kong. They work in factories. So I think like many of you can understand that as a migrant child, you know, you just have to be financially successful, and that's the priority. For the last 20 years, I have been working hard in the commercial world, and sort of, yeah, climb the corporate ladder pretty high, but it, it's not satisfying because I'm living others' dream and instead of myself. So this inner voice calling out to me that I should write. So I listened to it, and using because I came from mainland China, Fujian, so there's Fujian dialect, Hokkien, same as Singapore, yeah. And Hong Kong, I had to learn Cantonese and English. And then I went to Japan for a few years, so I speak Japanese. And then now in Taiwan, I sort of pick up my Mandarin again. So I like to use my languages to put into English and to sort of spice it up. And yeah, so because English is not just English, it's Englishes, right? So yeah, I try to use language to explore and expand my world, as well as sharing with the rest of the world, and be connected. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, and I can understand, like, as I have lived in different parts of my life, different parts of the world, and like, yeah, all these languages, they carry this very local stories, local notions of people, and
Yeah,
which you cannot express only in one language, English.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like many you guys know Philippines, you know, you work in Hong Kong, very hard life, and then but you also, yeah, come together and use this language to come and, yeah, to express. And the beauty of poetry as a platform to express yourself and to connect, I think that's the beauty of it all. Yeah.
So thank you, Sonia, for also sharing your poem, and thanks very much. So now our first round is done. So we are now moving to the second round, and before going to that, I'd like to say, like, it is really interesting to see how lots of people from like very different backgrounds are writing, and I see a lot of similarity with the Singaporean poetry scene in the present times. Like, lots of people who are coming from other places to work there as migrants, trying to, so they have become quite a bit of main part of Singaporean poetry now. And as you can see, Migrant Writers of Singapore is also organizer of this. So that's how we started. And this is going on as the 28th, I think, edition of Carnival of Poetry. And we hope like we'll go on more. That's one part of it. And we know other poets who came to Singapore, moved away, and still write about the city. And yeah, that's very, like, for example, I am also away now in Paris. I am living here, but still it's very nice to be attached through poetry to the city I have lived for like quite a few years of my youth. So yeah, so that's very interesting, and lots of interesting things happening. Like, so when we had this poetry chat with Singapore, like Poetry Foundation in Singapore, like, we tried to talk and see these commonalities, and that's very interesting for us. Yeah, and thank you all for sharing your poem. So now we'll go to the next round. We'll start with our next poet, like, again in the same order of alphabet. So our first poet will be Alname. Yeah.
Yes,
So
hello. Can you hear
yeah,
me?
yes, it's fine.
Yes.
Yeah. So welcome back again, and yeah, the stage is yours.
Okay. And I am a mother who's longing for my family's love and care. I always think about them, their needs, their future. And this written composition I am going to read to you, second poem I made, is all about a mother's love, a mother's wish to be with her family someday. providing them their good future and be with them for good. After long years sacrificing to be miles away from her children, she's still hoping that some or the soonest possible time they will be reunited again and give her full time together and never be apart anymore. And here it goes. Perfect Day, written by yours truly, Eileen May. All my life, I'm wishing to have a perfect day ever. Being together with family without any kind of distraction. Having a family picnic together in a very calm and quiet place. I always dream to do it on a beach, specifically in Boracay Island. It's been so good to feel the freedom of any stress feelings, focusing on my family's great memories after a long journey to success, trying to relax after the long years of hard work, being away with them and experience their presence and feel their love and care. Laughing, giggling, chatting, and eating while cooking all day, coping with all the days, being far away with each other. Forget every struggle and misunderstanding in life, create, creating good and memorable memories to keep while I am alive. My family is the best gift from the heavens above. I will treasure it for the rest of my life. I will truly do. I am willing to sacrifice to give them a good and easy life without any complaint, even I'm always get tired. I wish to experience this after dealing with all my difficulties, being able to pay all my debts in any kinds and my housing loan when my two children completed their studies with flying colors, after I save a sufficient amount for my family's emergency fund. God knows what's inside my heart, and I truly believe so. I wish I could make it until the end, and I am willing to wait, believing to Him to grant His full guidance, and I am hoping soon, His true perfect time, for me to have my very perfect day with my loving family. That is all I am praying for. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing the poem. And I think that's a big part of migrant life, right? Thinking of the time you will be back there with your family, and thinking of that time of the year or whenever you can go back. You look forward to that and live on that for all the hard things you go through. Yeah. Yeah, that's very nice. And also this hard like work that you have talked about, that often all the migrant people do to keep their families going and flourishing. That's yeah, a big thing. And that reminds, like, so uh, not now, even 5 years ago in 2015 we had our first book of this migrant poets from Bangladesh in Singapore, living in Singapore. So we had this Migrant Tales, and in there I still remember a very similar poem with the first part that you have written, like "Come to my city," where the person is talking to one of the person he used to know about how he has helped to flourish his family, how they have grown up, how they have completed to become, like better persons, having better careers than uh, he could have had. And yeah,
Yes, that
he
is
wished.
my top priority, my family. And I am willing to do everything to sacrifice to give them a better future.
Yeah, thank you for sharing such a personal thought and
Thank
personal
you.
point.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, so we'll now move to our next poet. So Annalisa,
Yes, hello.
hello. Yeah, welcome back again.
Welcome back. And my second poem, I wrote this poem because I wanted everyone to know that we need each other, either to teach us, And to those who hate us, there will always be a time to reach out and seek for help. Never close a door to anyone. This poem is an eye opener, especially to those who wanted to be alone and for those who feel weary. It talks about having someone to be there always by your side. This poem helps us to realize that we need one another. Compared to my first poem that talks about our purpose in every chapter of our life, we meet different kind of people along our way, and for sure they will teach us something that we will treasure in the end and will help make us better version of ourselves. This poem, I entitled it No Man is an Island. No Man is an Island by Annalisa V. Aquino. This expression is a quotation from John Donne's devotion. Let me tell you more to understand in this simple poem. I will elaborate further a life's lesson to ponder. We begin in our home, we have our family. Our father and mother will guide us every day, mold our behavior and personality to be a good creation, extraordinary and exemplary. In our school, we have different organizations to help us be our inspiration, taught us how to communicate and interact to every person's preferences and differences on their act. In our community, we have our leaders to set an example for all the members, to be their mentor and their protector, their success and their downfall. Be grateful to them. You become a master. In this world, we are living in reality. Poetry and literature are united in one advocacy to express emotions and deliver it wholeheartedly, become one in harmony and think in unity. Please be guided accordingly. Never think that you are greater than the other. No man is an island. You will need one another. There will always be a time for each and everyone. Jealousy and bitterness, forget it in your mind. Shine. Be a humble model to this island. We will become one. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing that. And as you have already mentioned in the beginning, like this is really like in the contrast to the first poem, right? So where you are
Yes,
talking about your own purpose and like where people are growing to be like more confident or self like reliant. Here you are talking about yeah, being together. But that analogy and the name I really liked. No man is an island. Like, uh, can you
yes.
say a bit more about that?
My Horizons family is my inspiration in writing this poem because they help me a lot to be a better version of me with my perseverance and eagerness to learn together with them. Now I can say that I am self-fulfilled.
I see, I see. Yeah, that's very
Yes,
nice. And like, yeah, well, like often in these communities, this happen. Like people forget how much the power unity can bring in. But yeah,
yes,
that's very nice to see how you feel about that and how you share that.
yes.
And
And we,
obviously, I think from all this like experiences of doing the similar thing in Singapore, I'll say like the community is the thing in which the power lies rather than us individuals. Like being together makes it a long way for everyone.
yes, yes,
Yeah, thank you for that, and yeah,
exactly.
thank you for such a nice point.
Thank you, Carnival of Poetry.
Yeah, so we'll move to the next poet now.
Hi.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, somehow I got muted. So would you like to share your second poem with us?
Yes, hi. Hi again. I would like to share my second poem. And I wrote this poem just out of my imagination. I was cleaning my kitchen of my boss during that time. And I was just looking outside the window and then I appreciate the night. What a beautiful night. And then I just started to wrote it down, pieces by pieces of it. And then I decided to dedicate this poem to a brave woman married to a soldier. So my second poem is Soldier's Heart. What a beautiful night. The stars are bright. And I remember my sweetheart, but he's out of sight. The moon is white, and I remember a familiar place, a place we used to hide. Under this mango tree, you said, I love you. Will you marry me? But as time goes by, the flames get tired. No more sugary words to delight my mood. And I found myself solitude in this long and endless road. And the hardest part is we always apart. Wait, okay. Throughout these years, where are you, my dear? I've been longing. You were missing. The hardest part is we always apart. My fear has come. You were gone. It's the hard truth reality. You're not meant for me, but to serve and die for our country. Time to say goodbye, but my love for you will never die until we meet again under this mango tree as we were used to be. Okay, that's it. Thank you and sorry for the interruption.
No,
Sorry.
no, no. I can see like that was quite an emotional poem from your side. So quite a
Yeah. And I was a little bit distracted. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. So would you like to share like anything more about the poetry or like yeah.
It's like my inspirations of this poem actually is just out of my imagination, working in the boss kitchen, sewing, looking at the window outside. It was a beautiful night, and then I just started to wrote it down, pieces by pieces of it, and then I decided to dedicate this poem to a brave uh, soldier's wife who cannot be have their husband's heart because being a soldier, being a hero, you devote your love and life to serve and die for your country, but not for your wife as a wife. That's it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, and yeah, thank you for
Thank
sharing
you
your
so
thoughts.
much.
Yeah. So now, like again, after Tata, we'll move to our next poet.
Okay, thank
So
you.
our next poet is Esther. So I'll play the next poem that Esther has. Just for a second. Okay.
Hello everyone! Welcome to Carnival of Poetry. This is my first time here. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My poem is entitled Hold to Perfection by yours truly, Esther Vargas Castillo, Senior Poet of Horizons, Hong Kong! The sun is going down. Silhouette has grown. Sky's beauty, I'm drawn. My mind's totally blown. Paintings up above is drawn. God's artistic hands is shown, telling us to stop our moan. Time to rest in his bosom. Flamingos runs home, gathers together, not alone. No room for to each his own. Family knitted under one stone. It's how we are in horizons. Different characters are so. Mother's love knitted us in one tone. Together we will fly in one aviation. Just keep your head in one unison, lesser and greater in one equation. Result is still a whooping combination. Brothers and sisters, we are being home. Thanks so much.
Yeah, we also thank Esther for sharing her poem. And again, as like she's not here, like we'll ask Odi uh, to say something about Esther's second poem and to share the story behind it. Odi?
Okay, here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, this is Esther's message. I will read it. Um, why did you write this poem? I wrote Home to Perfection to respond to one of our segments on its our Tuesday Poeto Challenge. This is unique to Horizons. Poeto stands for Poet plus Photo. This is conceived by the founder, which is me. She was so inspired with the photo of the flamingos on a lake there in Dubai with the sunset setting. She wrote this poem to encourage her fellow brothers and sisters of Horizons to keep on writing. What is the poem all about? This poem talks about how we are being molded and honed to perfection. It will be open to correction. One day, our poetry pieces will blossom and achieve something. At least we are in the process of perfection. Under the guiding hands of me, who is always there to lend a hand and nurture it unselfishly. Who is your inspiration while writing this, and who inspired you? Most of the members of Horizons were budding poets in this poem. They are her inspirations. They're just enjoying every moment through writing and speaking their minds. We do not compete and we don't aspire to be known. It's like a poetic playground. This pandemic really is affecting the mental health. Writings makes us forget the loneliness and the anxiety, and each of one of us are facing as the Horizons PRO, she wanted to be the mouthpiece and the instrument to stir up and encourage each and everyone to go on and face life positively. Together, they will fly in one direction. That is her message.
Thank you. That's a nice message, and that says a lot about Horizons. Well, I was going to ask about Horizons more, but that says like a lot about it. So thank you for that. Thank you, Esther, for that. Just let her know from our side, from Carnival of Poetry side. So yeah. So now we'll move to our next poet, and our next poet is Felix. So yeah. So hi.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, welcome back. And yeah,
Yeah, okay.
can you read? Would you like to read your second poem?
Yeah, sure, sure. Let me go find it first. I'm sorry. Okay, this is another political poem. It's called Yellow Stains on Your Chinese Blue. It is impolite to wake the dying, silvery mouth chai on their lips. We were taught to love the old. They love Mao and vote blue. Can you love them still? Too yellow for your Chinese skin, said Ye, chopping peppercorns. Their scent a reminder of the birds tear gas to bits. Your Chineseness is a broken traffic light, spray paint, a new bloodline. Yellow your skin, yellow your heart, yellow your ribbon too. That day, you were dreaming. To your father's face you lied, his gaze a meteorite. Be filial. Same hall you first kissed Anna in, as the slate of beanbag rounds. How are you supposed to feel when a 12-year-old hands you a brick? We fall in prey to our daily bread, cameras as our outer bodies. Oh, did you hear his name? You sealed your dreams in a Ziploc bag, far away from your Chinese eyes. Mask pressed on curb, blood-stains rich as your mother's love. You look at the full-face mask again. So, Huangdi's child, how do you explain that cockroaches, too, have dreams? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's nice. And yeah, the last line is very, how can I say, very like full of image and like very provocative, very powerful, I'd say. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. And as I can see, like a lot of it is inspired from what's happening around in Hong Kong. And yeah, it would be nice to read more and more on that. So yeah, and any story you would like to share with us about this poem? Anything?
Basically, it's about political tensions that are like kind of ripping the city apart. Like so, the older generation tends to be more politically to right. That means like that not we're not describing this in right or left terms, and more politically inclined to support the government and support perhaps the government of like China and the younger generation, which is us, tends to more like support more localist oriented politics or more pro-democracy politics. And this is about the divide that happens in the family, the conflict that you as a young yellow protester um, is forced to deal with when you come home and face a family that is against what you believe in and what you care for. I think this is not just relatable to those living in Hong Kong and perhaps even for those who live in different societies. Like in England, you got a younger generation liking like say the Labour Party and say older generation liking the Conservative Party. And I'm sure the same can be applied to Singapore, but like for convenience sake, I wouldn't say anything about that. So yeah, so I think this kind of political conflict in the family is definitely relatable.
Yeah, I can understand. Like that is not only I think in Asia. Like that's also similar thing you see in Europe, like UK, France, everywhere. If you see the voting patterns, even in US this time, you see similar stuff. So yeah, you know that's a like I think universal trend of humans. Yeah. But that's interesting. I think this clash is something that makes us move between generations, these ideologies and these different ways of evolving ideologies. That's nice to know. Yep. So thank you for sharing that. So now we would like to move to our next poet, and our next poet is Rachel. So
Deborah, you are mute.
oh, sorry. Yeah. So So we'd like to move to our next poet, and our next poet is Rachel. So yeah, Rachel, the stage is yours.
Hi, so I'm going to read my second poem. It's called Muscovado, which is a type of sugar, and it's like quite black. And in Cantonese, it directly translates to hak tong. So I was playing on this idea of you know a black kind of a more like black colored kind of sugar, and it's actually based on a story told to me by a medical student from the Chinese University of Hong Kong about the siege of the Chinese University of Hong Kong. And it's not my story, it's hers, and it's basically I just wrote a poem based on her experiences and her feelings. It's called Muscovado. November 12, 2019, CUHK. Retelling of a story from a medical student at the Chinese University. Now I have learnt that it was always something watching us with the parlance of sugar. The most edible lie is how starved you are for acridity. How eyes flickered when you said the people started putting it on their tongues, sick as syrup. I will always remember it as a disembarkment of molasses, effigy of grime come to cling, smell of armed men on the hill. How the air tasted haphazard before you started trespassing from the clogged highway with your rounds and canisters. Across the land, you and I were watched on LCD. Water found its way in through any of the thick jammed exits. An unfamiliar quench began pooling the dormitories. Even now, I think of how young their bodies were, positively juvenile when the siege began, and how, by the time the older ones repatriated, you were already in the sweet thick mire. By second dust, you brought in your big toys, billeted them on our bridge, chock full of your lewd blue. How do you not understand, even now, that no one at all likes building barricades? Imagine the fear of a tomorrow so terrible that eggshell themselves for ablation on high walls. Yesterday I was thinking of how, despite all their professorship, they could not stop all the young limbs being shot blue, all limbs shot bare, sodden for years from now. I will see many up close, 10 likewise to bloodied gapes, but none with such saccharine color, so thorough in blueness. After some tomorrows, the streams have splattered, rolling off as they do to quell the arson city. And I am only just realizing how many half lives have been taken, why a city in vertigo thinks hyperglycemia is the sweetest way to die. Thank you.
That's very interesting. So why this idea of this uh, hyperglycemia, and how why means that's the analogy that you think fits for Hong Kong, like the sweetest way to die. Why?
Because I was thinking of how like sometimes we compare lies to like sugar, and how a lot of people are deluded, and they because of the lies they've been fed, they've been deluded. And I think most of the population who are not aware of these things going on, they've been fed these lies. And people just I feel like they choose to stay ignorant. They choose to like ignore these things that are going on. But this student is just telling of her experience, that she really went through these things. She really she really actually experienced these things that went on, and it's in direct opposition to the people who are able to ignore it.
I can see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's what, as like Felix was also saying, happened with every not every, like most of the young generations doing something new in some other country. I think like I'm actually from India, so I know what happens, how it happens. So yeah, and I think in universities, like every generation that tried to change has some stories to tell, the stories which are very interesting in this way. And as I like to say, like these are not stories of individuals, these are stories of the times, the stories of the moves altogether, the mass itself that becomes the body. And that, yeah, that's the experience. That's very nice to share that, and yeah, very nice to know about that. Maybe, yeah, we are running out of time, but I later would like to know maybe more about it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Rachel, for sharing your poem. So now we'll move to our next poet, Liesel. So Liesel.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah, welcome back.
Okay, thank you. I'm My second poem is entitled Missing Piece. I come up this poem and when I'm so emotional early in the morning, I'm praying, and so I dedicated this poem to our Creator, our God, but always be my comforter. Missing Piece by yours truly, Lizette. I'm nothing without you. I'm incomplete without you. I'm just a dust, but you give me life, a precious life. In just one breath, I'm alive. You give me free will to choose to do whatever I want to do. You always guide me. You always direct me. But I'm your prodigal daughter. I walk in my own path without you. So I get hurt. I feel pain, frustrated, down, and empty. I find you, and you welcome me. You welcome me and embrace me. You fill my cup with yours. I only find peace in you, comfort, security, and happiness that no one can give me. You completed me because you, you are my piece, missing piece. Thank you.
So thank you for sharing the poem, and would you like to share the story behind it, the inspiration behind it?
And I'm so lonely, and I'm just praying to God why I'm experience this kind of feeling. So and I just get my pen and notes and I just write it, and this is the outcome, missing piece.
I see. So this, I can think of it as poetry to poetry. So writing and poetry itself, like as the missing piece.
Yeah,
That's nice. Yeah, I
thank
think,
you.
yeah, yeah. So that's a nice thought, and I think it is more or less valid for all of us who love poetry here and writes. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So now we'll move to our next poet. So our next poet is Maria. So Maria, yeah,
Hello.
will you like to share your next poem with us?
Okay. I'm back. My next poem, I wrote this um, as an expression of my own self as a poet. It's quite different from the first I've written, from the first I've recited. It's quite personal. It's all about my feeling as a writer and as a poet, that sometimes there comes a time that you even doubt yourself if you are really a good writer or what. And um and sometimes you come to a point when you think also of how others think of you as a writer, as a performer, and as a writer. So here it goes. My poem, my story. Poetry makes me nervous. When my pen starts to scribble, my hand trembles. I feel my heart pounding, my thoughts exploding, my emotions screaming, but I am struggling to put them in words. Because I know that when my pen starts spilling, I know that I'm giving, offering myself to the vultures who are always waiting to devour on fresh corpses. My poems are me, my written story. And I cannot make mistakes like how I did with my life. I want them to be just perfect, like how I was supposed to be. But I was not. I am not. And I will never be perfect. I'm not made of metaphors. I'm made of jigsaws, torn pieces to pieces, and it shows in my poems. They turn out to be an endless reports of mystery, like the ship at the bottom of the sea. Yes, I am made of iron and steel, and yet I break and melt, I sink and rust, pounded and crushed, and it makes me ask, am I not deserving of happiness? Am I not deserving of peace? Am I not deserving of love? My poems are me, my written story. And when I start to write the words like I care for all the world, to read and see me through, or listen as I grumble, look at my hands that fumble and wait for me to stumble. I can see people who lend their ears when I start to talk, but never really listens and never comprehend. They simply just pretend. Such a pretentious friend. But I love poetry, though it makes me nervous and others insult me for free. I will write every line, like how I treasure every dime. Create each phrases and so great pieces. They may never be perfect, but they are real, like how my heart beats. For my poems are me, my written story. Thank you.
Thank you. Like that's a very personal touch, and I have seen like you have gone pretty emotional at places. Like I can understand that, and what I like. So just a poet to poet. Like one thing that I have written, like I think a year ago or a year and a half, is something called reflection. So I was traveling this in very local train in India, and I was seeing an apple seller in the there are hawkers in trains in our country. So and then I was seeing like how having those apples and selling that and cherishing them, and he was like even not selling them, he was cleaning them and making them, polishing them. So somehow he has become the reflection of them, and I was thinking like about poetry, and we also become reflection of our poems. We just become our poems and our poems become us.
Yes, it's
And
true.
it just reminded me of that. Yeah, just that nostalgia. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's a nice one.
Thank you so much.
Next we'll move to our next poet. So now this time the stage is to Odi.
Hello, welcome
Hello.
back.
Yeah.
It's my second poem. The second poem title is Selfless Love for Humanity. You know, most of the migrant domestic workers in Hong Kong was being hit by a pandemic. When the helpers are coming in here, they will be quarantined for 2 weeks. And within that 2 weeks, they are alone. They are just eating what's the food was being given to them in the hotel. And basically, there are noodles. How are they going to survive 14 days? Someone 21 days eating only noodles. Put your shoes in that. So my group, Social Justice for Migrant Workers, we're gathering donations and we are giving food to these people, risking our lives just to be sure that they are going to be healthy. Because can you imagine you're not eating properly? How can you pass the swab test? And imagine, for example, if it's like 100 migrant workers that came here and they didn't pass the quarantine test, 100 families way back home will be hungry. So if no one will step up, who will feed them? So my gratitude for the heroes here in Hong Kong is just one of my group. This poem is for all of you. And take note today, I skip giving donations and food because I am here. But I want my voice to be heard. Selfless love for humanity. Educate yourself. Learn skills. Acquire knowledge. Then share it to the less privileged, especially now there is COVID. Share anything you have, risking lives, not afraid to give food to the quarantined, extending help even to those get positive by COVID. Sky may seem dark and vivid. Through my selfless love, hope is giving to be lucid. Faith, negative mindset, please forbid. Broaden our spectrum, swaying like a pendulum. Give freely, wholeheartedly, without asking anything in return. Character so exemplary. Shine, loving humanity in a shape or form. Treat everyone as family. Good intentions, putting aside personal interests. You, they always comes first. Sure thing in my heart, I accepted my mission, my vivid quest. Be a gift, a blessing to others in this hour of darkness. Learn to give. Forgiveness, pride, and ego no room. I won't be distressed. Life is like a wheel. Whether you're in top or bottom, execute humbleness. Have you ever tried to also think of other first? Empathy. Try to be in other person's shoes so you will understand their woes. Voluntarily give. Don't wait for a signal or clues. Be fair. Help without under scrutiny. Be honest. Mock the treachery. Nowadays, why are you killing chivalry? Humanity needs its share and compassion. In God's eyes, we are all equal creation. As we are all inhabiting this nation, it's a choice to be benevolent, be greedy, or close fitted. When you will learn to be selfish, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, knows everyone's value and worth. Will you wait till humanity slowly perish? That's it.
Thank you for sharing that. And as you said already, these situations where migrant people went to places, they had to pass the test, they had to pass the quarantine, and like if they go back, they have a high cost than anyone can imagine for their whole family. And yeah, that's I think a very like pertinent topic, not only in Hong Kong, I think in lots of places to write about, to talk about. like uh, like for example, there are lots of migrant people at different places who lost job and they couldn't go back home, and like they're stuck somewhere. And yeah, that's a sad part. So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, thank you for all your efforts around horizons. And we'd like to see, I think, more and more poetry from the poets in horizon from you. And we'd like to see, yeah, it is flourishing more than ever. And having lots more poets coming in there, growing and writing new poetry for us. So
Yeah, it's not easy having a group like this, especially it's
mhm.
pandemic. People have different emotions.
Yes,
Sometimes
yes.
when you wrote a poem, when you wrote a metaphor, people think that the poem is for them. You're just expressing your feelings. Same thing. And it's not an easy road, especially I also got a work to do, but I need to put my heart in it because writing a poem and to become a mother of poetry, the way they called me, it is not like, hey, this is the pen, Nemilu. Here's Nemilu. Here, this is the pen. Go and write. Or here is Tata. Tata, come here and recite. Teaching them how to be a poet is by inspiration. Like what I'm doing now, they're watching me and this is an inspiration to them. I had performed many times in different platforms, not for myself, not for me to be famous, but to inspire them. I am representing them. OD Monson means horizons, not OD the person herself. Because if it's only for me, my employers are not always here. I only got a dog. I got a life. I got a fancy life. I got a Casanova life. My boss was rich, so they can afford a helper that is just going to be with the dog, and they're always not here. But I choose to be there for people who needed guidance, love. I mean, family doesn't need to be blood. It's like when you give them inspiration, what they see in
Mhm.
you, that made them right, and
Yeah,
that is very helpful during pandemic. So I'm very happy that it's a bumpy road, not easy because
yeah,
we
it
are
is a bumpy
individuals.
road. But thanks for doing that. Thanks for taking the effort, and thanks to all the poets in Horizons. I think you will go a long way together. So hope the best for you.
Thank
And
you
yeah,
so much. It's an honor that we are here and you give attention to the poets of Hong Kong. As I'm always saying, daily life is my first literary home.
yeah. Okay. Thank you, and we'll maybe talk more offline as we are going already over time.
Yes.
So yeah. So now we'll move to our next poet, Sonia. So
Hi.
yeah, so let's listen to you. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. Rebirth is the theme of this book, and it echoes the global Me Too movement. Because the title poem, Don't Cry, Phoenix, the genesis of it comes from a terrible experience that I experienced in Hong Kong when I was 14. I was sexually assaulted by my coach, and I was mute all the years. So I think that was the little voice that I was referring to when earlier when I turned 40, that I just have to, the voice urge to be heard, just like Hong Kong. So I think just like Hong Kong protests, I think female bodies also needs to be protected, like in protest, because we're not objects and we demand dignity. And I think by writing it, I'm not just taking my dignity back, but I also share with all my sisters and mothers and niece, even men. I think also people like to take advantage of the vulnerables, and so I hope to write this. So this poem came from that wish to awaken all of us that it could happen to anyone of us or anyone near us. So I wish every one of us, whether we are caretakers, whether we are mothers, or but reach out and pay attention. You can help. So by surviving, not just surviving that terrible experience, but thriving, because I can write and I can connect and with the rest of the world, and let other girls like me who experienced such terrible experience, knowing that they are not alone. They're not alone. You're not alone. Yeah. So this is a poem. Don't cry, Phoenix. For all the children in the world who have been deeply wounded. Legend has it that there's a bird. She flew into a sea of flames and burnt to ashes. Dear Phoenix, oh Phoenix, what drove you to despair and throw yourself into the flaming sea? Between the heavens and the earth, 1,000 winds are whispering. The universe is filled with prayers for the bird. All living beings are devoted to her. Somewhere afar, a certain silky smooth shaft of light appears. It's a slim bird struggling to stretch out, to rise. Tears stream from the corners of her eyes. She strives to be rid of the nightmares of her past. Legend has it that there's a bird. She flew into a sea of flames and burnt to ashes. Dear Phoenix, oh Phoenix, what drove you to despair and throw yourself into the flaming sea? Between the heavens and the earth, a thousand winds are whispering. The universe is filled with prayers for the bird. All living beings are devoted to her. Somewhere afar, the silky smooth shaft of light simmers. That slim bird continues to flap so hard. Her tears evaporate. She fights on and liberates herself from the sea of flames. Proudly, she spreads her wings and soars into the air. Like a brand new leaf in a cherry tree forest, she enjoys her solitude amidst the throng, glorying in the beauty of her rebirth. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing a poem written from such a deep personal experience. And yeah, as I've heard from like friends, like close people and all, like female friends and close people, like it is very hard to talk about it, and it is a big leap to write it down. And
Yeah,
thank you for sharing that. And yeah, the analogy of phoenix is, I think, that's the best analogy. Like you rise from the ashes, like
yeah,
really, really. Yeah, and respect to like all of you, like who has done that, who has gone through that, and who are strong enough to uh, write it down, to air your voice about it.
yeah. And I want the girls to know, or not just girls but boys also, that the shame is not on them. It's on those the aggressors, and so it's okay for them to speak out and to live, and yeah, to live well is the best revenge.
Yes, 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 yes. I think like to all the wrongs that is done to a person, the biggest revenge is to live on alive, like
Yes,
because it
that-
is your life, that's your gift, and no
yes,
one can take it away.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, and thanks a lot for sharing such a personal thing. So yeah, so now today, as we have run a lot of overtime, as from number of poets, this is the like largest number of poet we had, like the 10 poets in one session. So it's very nice to see people writing from such different perspectives, writing so many different things, coming from different places, and like having different experiences about the same place. And that's very interesting, and that says like we are always at crossroads of life. And that's how it is. And specifically places like we have experienced in Singapore, similarly in Hong Kong, which are melting pots of life. There you can see all these different things, people living different lives at the same place in a very different way, and they have each a different story to tell about that place. And yeah, thank you everyone, thank you for this session. So in the end, before ending it, if you don't mind staying back for a few minutes, like I would like to read a poem that was long due from my side to Hong Kong. So for the time I have been there, I think 5 years ago, I have been thinking for 5 years to write something, but yesterday I found out, let's write it finally. Don't procrastinate anymore. And yeah, so it is about Hong Kong and some of the favorite things that I think of Hong Kong whenever I think of it. And the name of the poem is Egg Tart, a little long due. And yeah, I love the Hong Kong egg tart. So yeah, that is kind of my, so whenever I think of food, like I think of that, I can live on that for one day or two. So yeah, so this is the poem, but it is all about the place, and the place as I have experienced when I have been there, because yeah, I have experienced some of very dear part of my life in there. So let's listen to it. Every man who loved you made up a new name, like you were there to show but never to claim. They touched your skin, a bit soft, a bit burned, a bit creamy, a bit fun. You were everything, and now stranger of all. When we met, I was waiting to be born. You crossed the street, busy. The eyes met longing, the sweat and the smell. I knew that I was home. The egg and the flower never melted so well anywhere but your tangled lip lines. Hong Kong. The city and we, an affair as new as the towers aiming for the sky, as old as the afternoons when sun came home at the Mui O pyre. This is the circle, the Buddha smiled. Sisyphus came to Lantau looking for nirvana, and now he carries the history's stone. Some stories don't meet the dot in one lifetime, and some prayers breathe only in the scriptures and a generation's pain. Still, you lived on in Cha Chang Tengs after all your lovers were washed off by the sea and the flame. Don't worry tomorrow if you lose your shape or name. I'll crave for you at the time's end, devouring my useless words and memories, not a bit faint. Now tell me, my dear, in which mood are you today? Departure, a long due love letter, or just another egg tart? Yeah, thank you. So thank you everyone for being there, and yeah. So, and welcome, like again, thanks for being in the Carnival of Poetry, and we'll be happy to see you again and again, multiple times in the different Carnival of Poetry sessions. Have a nice day. Yeah, and see you
Thank
all.
you so much.
Deborah. Thank you, everyone. Bye.